I think in the very near future, I'm going to have to do more videos where they're not in here. Because this is getting ridiculous. I started a video and he got all up in my business and I ended up deleting it. And he's still up in my business. So, as I was saying, backseat with you. What was I saying? Taz, buffoon. They're a little unsettled since we have a house guest, and today is the house guest's first birthday. So, yeah, I mean, not that any of them know or care what that means since they're all dogs, but yeah. Yes. So today got all jacked up from the get-go because I try to start every day like, oh, okay. Abraham Hicks talks about how if you start every day in as good of a feeling space as you can, before something happens that kicks you off of that, the high-flying disc or whatever, it makes everything better, right? Until you hit that point where you get booted off. And today I was in the middle of my process and it got booted off before I got completely done, and I was so aggravated. Shut up! So of course we have the house guest. The house guest is sleeping in my office in her crate. Not current moment. Current moment, she's probably running amok with my parents in the house. But, yeah, that's where she sleeps at night, right? And it's been fine. I haven't heard anything of her. Yet today, like all at once, before I got ready to, I was like, that was literally the next thing on my agenda. As soon as I got into a better spot, feeling wise, I was going to go let the dog out and potty her and all that fun stuff, right? And then all at once the dogs start like going over to the door and like looking, and it's like, oh, somebody let her out. I know they did. And it's like, of course, my mom took it upon herself to go into my office and let the dog out, which theoretically would not be a big deal, except it's always under the guise of, look how much I helped you out. So you didn't help me out. I was literally getting ready to do that. You didn't open the windows for the birds or anything, and so it's just, you just got in the way of me doing the thing I was getting ready to do, and doing so you can feel better about everything. And it's exactly that point of, I've pulled my energy back from them so they don't have the access to it, to pull me into their drama and all that bullshit. So now it's, look how much we're helping you, but we're not, because we really just want your energy and time back to, basically what it comes down to is, I'm the one doing this dog sitting endeavor, but now they can feel like I need them to help me because I can't handle it on my own. It's like, that's not what it is. That's not what it is at all. You just got in the middle of my space and my way of doing things, and we're still in that time frame of, I'm trying to navigate the, what all's going on, trying to keep things relatively normal for my three, while also having a house guest, and it's not at all normal because, she's a year old today. My youngest is getting ready to be 8 at the end of the month. So, I got a couple pictures of her this morning where she was, they were all laying by my feet because I was in my office trying to get back to finding that good feeling. And she came in there and was like, cool, what are we doing? And why is this fun? She didn't appreciate it as much as they do. But yeah. And then, Gidget and Ziva both followed me into the bathroom trying to hide from her while I was getting ready. And at one point, I took my trash into the other room to dump it. And when I came back, I went to wash my hands. And Ziva and Gidget were between me and the sink and the toilet, which there's like a foot and a half in that space. And they were right there. And then Daisy comes in and goes underneath them. And I was trying to get my camera together so I could, all situated so I could get a picture of her standing under them by me at the sink. And I didn't move quick enough on that one. By the time I did get a picture, she was standing in front of Gidget, but real close to them. And Taz was in there too. It's like, this is a whole lot of space, or a whole lot of dog in this itty bitty little space right now. Yeah. But yeah, that whole, I think the other part of it that's frustrating is I don't like them in my space, period. And it's like, all I got is I got my room, I got my bedroom, my office, and my bathroom. But I still don't want them in that space because I try to keep my space pretty pleasant. And they, thrive on bullshit like Fox News and stuff. So it's like, yeah. Just the energy they bring with them. No, I don't want that in my space. So now I'll probably need to sage my office, which is a whole thing in and of itself because I have birds in there. So yeah. Just let him snore or breathe heavily because of how he's laying. That's all him. He has more than enough room to lay on the seat if he wanted to. He just doesn't want to. He has to be up here in my armpit so he can pester me. But yeah, like the other thing when we were walking, I was thinking that was the sound of him sitting up. Oof. So my aunt, I know she does this to my mom, but she also does it to me, right? So the times that I have been over there, which when she first got the puppy, I was still over them participating in the family shit far more than I should have, because I was still working on the boundaries thing, and navigating that whole area. And every time we were over at my grandparents' house and my aunt had her puppy, she would bring the treats in and hand them to me and say, here, work with her. It's like, mainly because my aunt doesn't know how to train dogs. She loves cats and is more of a cat person. Their last dog was a Pomeranian Sheltie mix. And the Pomeranian part was really good about being trained by the cats. And he was deaf, so he was pretty easy to get along with. Anyway, it's like I remember him barking the first time and he like scared the shit out of himself because he didn't know what that was. But yeah, he was, everybody'd always talk to him. It's like, he still can't hear you, and just waving at him or whatever. And then eventually he'd come over, whatever. But Shelties are obviously working dogs or herding dogs. So, that's what my family has had a lot of over the past years. Will you stop? So, because we had Shelties and that dog had Sheltie in it, it was a whole thing. Here, let me give you this empty thing. Look at that. What do you think about that? He's like, I think it's empty. gonna make it so I can't do these with you in the car anymore. That would be unfortunate, because then that means more time without you hanging out. 10. So, because he had Sheltie in him, you know, there again, it was still, we got to do a lot of training stuff for him. Of course, everybody loves puppies, so it's fine. You know, but then now it's a Corgi, so it doesn't have the Pomeranian to give it some chill. It's just full Corgi, and she doesn't know what to do with that. And so the big thing is she just hands treats to me and my mom anytime we're around, and I think she does it to my other aunt probably. If I'm there, it goes to me. If I'm not there, it goes to whoever else is conveniently looking bored or not busy enough. But every single freaking time, like, my mom has this thing where she will start up on how she's single-handedly trained that puppy to do all these different tricks. It's like, you never single-handedly trained any puppy to do any of, like, you might work with them on things, like sit and all that fun stuff, but she's not into the other stuff. Like, okay, I got her going on crawling at one point and, you know, shaking both feet and all this stuff, because, you know, we've had other dogs in the past that picked up on it, and then it became their thing. Like, Chance, you know, you tell him to shake and then tell him the other one, and then he'd give you the other one too. So it was like, not necessarily complicated stuff, but it's literally anytime she wants to bring something up about that dog, it's how she single-handedly is doing all this training work. It's like, I'm pretty sure I have spent a lot of time working with that dog on that. And like, even when I call her out, like, she just kind of blows it off. It's like, no. It's like, no, that was all me. Me. It's like, nah, fuck that. Yeah. So when she gets in the middle of my stuff today and my process on navigating this whole thing, Taz! I'm literally getting ready to go sit on the curb and leave you in here. Yeah. So, like, she's doing this because, you know, because now she's not trying to prove herself to daddy anymore. So now it's a matter of proving herself to everybody else how we can't do anything without her, right? And that's aggravating. Aggravating as hell, to be honest. And yeah, not a fan. I'm going to go sit on the curb for a little bit because I am getting tired of having to deal with this dog. Yeah. Anyway. So, it's like, I know, even like talking about it on this whole thing, it's like, oh, but how do you sound right now? It's like, hey, this is my fucking vlog. This is literally what I write about. If something stressful happens, then it's like, get it out of my system, fucking deal with it. And here we are again, right? So, yeah. So aggravating. The dog included. We walked a mile. He had plenty of time to do his business. But yesterday he acted like he didn't have any time to do his business, and as soon as we got home he peed for like 5 minutes. Like, you drink all the water in the car, yeah. So I'm gonna have to figure out that their boredom while I'm trying to do this now, since that's obviously going to be an issue. And of course, this is the lot somebody's coming back into. Normally, well, no, that's not normally. We try to hide out over here if there's not any kind of sporting events or anything going on, because less people come back here. But then every now and then it's tennis or driving practice. Oh, that one has dogs. Good. So mine will be acting up. Fabulous. But yeah, it's just that whole point of, let me get in the way of what you're doing so you can see how much you need me and have to have me around and can't do anything without me. Because, you know, like there for a while, Tez would, he's always had this tendency to start barking whenever he's ready to be up, and like he'll just sit there, whine, and then bark, and I'm sure it's a boredom thing as much as anything. And you know, there for a while it was a big deal because they would feel the need to open my door to let him out, to help me out, so I didn't have to get up, right? It's like, I can hear him barking. Like, it's the first whine he does, it usually is enough to wake me up. And yeah, they're barking at the dogs. The other dogs don't appear to have noticed them yet. But it's like, I don't, it's literally a matter of time for I am like, okay, let me let you out. But I feel like the whole, it's literally that point of, look at what I did to help you out. Look at how you don't ever help us out, kind of a thing, or whatever. It's just like, that's the whole attitude. It's just, look at what we're doing for you, and look, you know, and you're ungrateful or whatever. It's like, I'm ungrateful because you're getting in my space and like trying to take over on my shit that I didn't ask for help on. And you know, the shit that I do ask for help on, it's like, okay, my dad goes out of his way to make me feel stupid for, okay, the garage door's not opening again. There's probably a loose wire in that. Wires are not my department. They're just not. Never have been. Don't really care to figure that out at this point. You know, if we had the keypad working, fine, so I'll just do that instead. You know, and if that doesn't work I am not above going in the fucking dog door if need be. Be completely honest. Yeah, but it's just that whole point of, you know, that the codependency thing, you know, where they're trying to show you how much they need or you need them, so you can never go anywhere and do anything. It's like, I don't want this existence. I'm trying to figure my way out of this, preferably sooner than later, because this is ridiculous. And it's really chilly out here, so I'm gonna go back to the car and hope he behaves this time. I might be out here again, I don't know. But yeah, it's just so, I think that's the big point, is it's not for nothing. It's literally to show me how much I can't do without them and how much I need them to help me in my life. It's like, no, I'm freaking 41. I can figure some of their shit out on my own. Just because you get in the middle of it, because you think that's somehow helpful for anybody to be completely dependent on somebody and not be able to function. Hi. She didn't like that. Thank you. When it's warmer, we'll go back to doing these in the backyard. Hi. Yeah, but it's literally just that piece of, I did this to help you. See how much you need me? You can't go anywhere. You need me too much. No. It's because you're like getting in the way of my trying to navigate whatever I'm trying to do. Then yeah, that's the, okay, we're going to be barking again. The people with dogs are coming back, so I'm just going to pause it. Anyway, He's still watching the dogs go the other way. Tazzy. Oh, another thing. I don't like my family to touch me, period. Like, pat me on the back, give me a hug. No, I don't want any part of any of it. And usually it's not an issue, but every now and then somebody just feels the need to just pat me on the back. It's like, fucking keep your hands to yourself, man. You know, and oh good, they're playing on the tennis court. It says, please keep the dogs off the tennis courts. So let's go walk the dogs on the tennis courts. Whatever, I don't care. Not my tennis courts, not my dogs, not my problem. Just I really wish they weren't right there. That part's my problem. But yeah, like every now and then, my father feels the need to just come over and give me a hug. It's like, no, I don't want you to touch me. Period. Why? Because literally anytime I say that there's an issue with something, like the car or the garage door opener or whatever else, the first response is to try to make me feel stupid, because it was clearly just a user error. So there's something in me that makes me too stupid to be able to figure it out. But there's never, it's always how it's a problem that I said, hey, this thing isn't working, you know, because it means he has to get up and do something that when he could just be pissing all his time and his retirement away on YouTube and Fox News and that kind of bullshit. It's like, and that's literally the thing, because every time I've said there's been an issue with the car, he's acted like I was stupid and I'm the one that has the problem. It's like, well, yes, the car that I'm driving isn't functioning properly, then yes, that is kind of my problem. But at the same time, I asked you to help. You know, and like one time, come to find out it was completely out of transmission fluid. I don't know anything about checking the cars for all this stuff. Why? Because my father never trained me on this stuff. That's not stuff he thought relevant to teach me. You know what? Come to think of it, I'm pretty confident he didn't really teach me a whole heck of a lot, other than how to like feel like I'm too much, to how to get fucking bullied by people because what? Just because, I don't know. It's just irritating. Taz, shut up. You know, so my brother is always like, well, I feel like there's still hope for him. And it's like, I don't. And these are the reasons why I don't. You know, as far as like, you know, my brother has more issues with my mom than with my dad. It's because he has some sort of view that they're allies because they're both guys. And, you know, my mom is a hot mess for sure, but I don't know. You know, my brother will say things and then, you know, about holding out hope for our dad, and I'm just like, you know what? No, I don't at all, because what I think of when I think of that man is the man that fucking started bullying me too, because I became a difficult child. So instead of just, you know, figuring out what was wrong with the child, because that was when the bullying started at school, he just added on to the bullying, right? So that's my connection with my father. You know, it's anything that I've needed help with has been an issue for some damn reason. And, you know, it goes back to that whole thing with, you know, like I talked about the Keynote Tarot reading yesterday, where she was talking about how authority figures made you feel like you were asking for too much when really you were asking for the bare minimum that should have been. You know, because they chose to have kids, they should have had some functional capacity to care for their kids and, you know, prioritize that. But no, they were too busy trying to fulfill their own emotional starvation, that they just, continued perpetuating that, keeping the kids emotionally starved as well. So, so we can end up in our 40s and be like, what the fuck do I have to show for anything, right? And I know that this is a big part of why that whole, me learning to use my voice thing, like why we had to keep that in check over the years, because now I'm doing this, and now other people are going to know about this family drama that was just our business, because, you're not ever supposed to talk to anybody about anything, and especially if it's in anything less than a positive light. Yeah. It's probably not helping him, then I get all wound up. You're alright, dude. Hey, come here. He's like, what? I'm being good now. I'm being good now. But yeah, it's like, I want no part. And I'm sure the universe is waiting on me to step up and say something, when, he comes at me for a hug, like, he really cares about me or some bullshit. It's like, no. And what did I do? Everything in me was like, and I did not return. Nope. It was, get off, it's like, he wants to talk about how I never have a kind word to say to him. And yet he calls me a dumb bitch, right? He comes up with that shit. So yeah, I never have a kind word to him, or word for him, but he's so generous with his thoughts and affections and blah, blah, blah. It's like, keep that shit to yourself. I'm not interested in perpetuating your bullshit. And I think that's the biggest thing with, I just need the fuck out of this situation, dudes. I have yet to manifest my way out of there just yet. But I'm working on it. And I just, I don't know that it would be ideal to go along with my brother and his wife if they end up somewhere else. The big thing is, I've talked about how I feel like I'm supposed to end up in Philadelphia at some point in time. It's like, how can I just manifest that quicker? Because I don't care if I have to start completely all over trying to figure out everything by myself. I will make it work. Let me get the hell up out of here. And yeah. But that goes that, I mentioned that my brother and sister-in-law posing that I could go with them as a possibility. It's like, it gave me the opportunity to start dreaming bigger, but I feel like I still have a block on being able to dream too big. And go back to that Kino point. It's like that whole, how do you move beyond just asking for peanuts because you've been shown time and again that you've only been worthy of peanuts, if that. And like, how do you get to a point where you can dream bigger? And I don't know the answer to that. And I try to, like I said, I really try to get to a much better, higher feeling state to start the day, so then they aren't able to get into my energy and make sure that I start out with a shitty day, like, kind of like today. It's not complete shit, but just this energetic funk pisses me off. Yeah. What the hell are these people doing? Good grief. They're done playing on the tennis courts, apparently. But I don't know if they're leaving. Like, they go one way, then they go back to the car, and then they go the other way, and then they go back to the car, and then... I don't think they know. Oh. Well, look at that. Oops, not you. I was just talking about how cute you were. Go back to being cute. Oh, they're leaving. Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, so yesterday, I took a shower and was just kind of letting my wheels turn, right? And I was thinking, okay, so I watched this this little Instagram thing with what's her name, that girl with the hearse or whatever. And it was basically a reaction because somebody was asking her a question, just trying to, as she said, throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, right? And they thought they were all cute and funny, surely, because they asked if she was trans or something, and she's like, is that an insult? She said, if I say yes, will you go away? It's like, I feel that. I was thinking, especially for women trying to do different things, right? Trying to not just live the mediocre existence that women were told they had to in previous generations, so anytime anybody gets too mouthy or something, somebody's going to come back with what they deem should be insults. And I was thinking, it's like, I feel pretty confident, 222 as I'm going into this, that part of the purpose, like the biggest part of the purpose of my military experience, was because, anybody, hey, no, because at some point, I know I'm gonna get hit with some shitty comments on here, right? That's just how people are. If you're doing something that, whether they're not, or they deem themselves not capable of doing it, or they just want to make fun of you for trying to do something different because you're getting out of line, and you're supposed to only be doing the things that keep the illusion alive for keeping the assholes in positions of authority in the country and all that fun stuff, because you need something outside of yourself to fix you, or to help you, and to save you, and to do all these things, and you are not good enough to do anything on your own, kind of bullshit. It's like, so when I feel like, okay, I'm taking it away because you had enough that time. I feel like part of the military purpose, because I can say, military proven to be female because they, are, that's a point. You can't go in if you're like, if what is on your birth certificate doesn't line up with what's in your pants, and, oh my God, going on to the ever ridiculous argument of why is it... Stop! What is it that's so important about keeping people, being so completely aware of what's in everybody's pants? Like that somehow you can devalue people because of what is or isn't in their pants, right? And it's like the fact that... Stop it. The fact that... Okay, You're being an asshole again. You want me to get out of the car again? It's like, I remember that was like one of the big insults way back then, or way back when I was growing up, was like calling, or, you know, using hateful terms, calling people gay. It's like, why is that an insult? And it comes back, I think, solely to you're not fitting the mold of what somebody outside of you says you're supposed to fit into. You go sit over there on that cold curb again because you're being an asshole. Yeah, but it's like I remember that being an insult when I was growing up, and it never set right. It's like, that's really all you got? You know, that's the most offensive thing you could think of to, you know, trash talk somebody? Why? You know what? How? Why should that be an insult? Oh, except because, you know, religion and politics want you to think it is. You know, and like, I was thinking about how, okay, since I got my bachelor's in psychology, one of the things I remember talking about was how in the DSM-3, I believe it was, homosexuality was seen as a mental illness. It has since been removed, and rightfully so, but it's like, even then, it's like, seriously, why are people so concerned with this whole thing, right? Why is it such a taboo thing that you feel the need to, lurk around people's bedrooms, make that okay, so you can say, oh, they're mentally ill because they do this thing? It's like, that says more about the assholes saying it's a problem than it does for the people. You know, and it goes to that point of keeping everything locked in the dualities, because if we can keep you thinking, you know, at either end of the spectrum, and think anything in the middle is a problem, then we can control you, right? That's basically what it comes down to. So yeah, it's like, I feel like I'm realizing now, it's like, basically all the shit that I've gone through in my lifetime, and the things that I've heard for people even to make fun of me or whatever, it's like, literally because it doesn't sit right for me. The bullying thing is what I deem as a problem. And because, you know, I've spent my whole life basically being bullied in one way or another, I feel like taking on bigger issues, as will come into play more and more, I think, as I do shift into what I'm supposed to be doing, as far as why I came here to this world, my bigger mission that way. It's like, I feel like, obviously, I'm going to piss off a lot of people that, oh, good God, don't forget the puppy's birthday is today. She forgot it enough to plan a vacation on it, so anyway, but yeah, it's like, I feel like this is very erratic today. It's like, just the fact that I see bullying as an issue in a world where we are literally taught that it's okay to bully people to keep them in line. I can foresee pissing a lot of people off with that, and I'm okay with that, especially the more time I spend embracing my mouthiness and stepping into not caring about pissing people off on that end. You know, like I said, I feel like that was a big thing that I thought about last night, was I feel like, since I can say military proven to be female, you know, so anybody who wants to say shitty things about there's something, I mean, well, they're going to say shitty things about me because I'm female anyway, they're going to say shitty things about me because I'm willing to mouth off about the stupid systems in place that allow bullying to be okay. Yeah. I wrote a thing back in the summer about like the twin flame thing, and for us it is he and she, but that's only because basically I feel like we are I can tell that he is completely aligned with my viewpoints on this topic, because I've seen some things that he's posted recently that have talked about being pissed off about stuff going on in the world today. And it's like, I feel like that's kind of one of our bigger missions together once we finally, actually meet, is taking on that kind of issue. The people that think it's okay to bully others because of what's in their damn pants or whatever else. It's like, that's some bullshit. And basically what being in the military taught me was that keeping things so divided, like men over there, women over there, no, males over there, females over there, because you cannot call them men and women because we are trying to neutralize that. I don't know. Like, they claim that we don't see those things here. All we see is green. Well, that's what I was told in the military. It's like color, all that stuff. And we don't see that stuff. It's just green. It's like, yeah. Except there's that whole point that I think it doesn't matter what branch of the military you look at in this country. There is a ridiculously high prevalence of sexual assault. So what's that all about? If it's so important to keep people separated based on what is in their pants, what exactly, for what purpose, right? And that's what I learned, is to basically bully one, and also the idea with the country belief system anyway. Try to put my glove on one-handed. Yeah. Let me think. Okay, so what is the relevance of like on the religious end? It's specifically because women are supposed to be submissive and supposed to fit in these check boxes, right? And you're supposed to ask your husband if you have a question for the church. That's kind of bullshit. It literally, all that does is set up a system where it is perfectly acceptable and encouraged to view one as lesser than the other, which sets them up to, then it's okay to assault them, right? I feel like I should write more on this end, because my thoughts are kind of all over the place when I'm trying to talk about it, especially when I'm sitting in the car and the dog is barking in my ear. And yeah. But on the twin flame thing, it's like, I was thinking about this point a lot lately. Okay, so Rumi says that the lovers don't one day finally meet, they are in each other all along. And I completely agree with that. And so, in light of that little detail, it's like, okay, I talked about in December when I went to that Army versus Navy game. There was a girl that was like, "Do you like women?" And it's like, what? And it caught me off guard, and I was like, I said I'm straight, and then I was thinking about that. It's like, I don't think it's so much that I'm straight. I think literally I've always known that there's this one specific person that I'm looking for, and that his packaging in this lifetime is as a male. So it wasn't that I was trying to be attracted to just everybody, that fits in this category or whatever. It's like, it's literally, I just knew that the person that I'm looking for me is in this lifetime, so to follow on that, okay, this other thought that I had last night. It's like, we have the socially acceptable dick to vagina ratio, right? So we can kind of fly under the radar as far as, people aren't going to just judge us for, our connection on like the male to female end of things. But when we start speaking out against all the bullshit against, the people that don't have the same, set up for their relationships, and I think that too, yeah, that's something that I was writing about that back in the summer, and I feel like it's specifically, so we can basically get away with people not caring about us being together because, we fit the standard, but then at the same time going within a system and making it okay for others to exist, and letting that be known that we're not okay with the bullying end. And like I said, I feel like that's the big or dual mission, or a big part of the dual mission on that end, is that point, because I have all sorts of problems with bullies, and literally all the current religious and political bullshit in place does is make it okay for bullying, and I'm not okay with that. Spent my life being bullied, and at this point it's like I'm starting to realize how that will be useful, because the people that wanted to look at me a certain way and make me feel like shit about myself, is because once I start talking and saying things that they don't like, that don't fit their standards or whatever, then they're really not gonna like me, and that's okay. But it had to, the universe was basically getting me ready for that, right? To be able to be disliked for speaking my truth, because my truth is very different than the bullshit that's spewed, especially within the religious viewpoint. And it always stood out to me, that point. And of course, the church, would emphasize the point where Jesus hung out with the sinners, right? So Jesus hung out with the outcasts and the rejects because, quite frankly, the religious types are assholes. They're so busy trying to buy into a facade that they don't give jack shit about being who they are, or even finding out what that looks like in this world, because they just assumed that what they were told was accurate and going to save them or fix things for them in some kind of way, because somebody said that that's what Jesus did, was to, do the work so you don't have to. But that's not what he did. He did the work to show you it's possible to do the work, not that you don't have to do the work yourself. Hi. She wishes I would stop doing that. Hi. I know. I know. My hands are cold though. Yeah, I like my gloves. That's not helpful. But yeah, it's like that, right to that whole, if you need something outside of yourself to save yourself, then you can be controlled. That's what it comes down to. And the powers that be want to keep you controllable. Will you stop? Yeah, but the powers that be want to keep you controllable because then they don't have to worry about... Stop. About people getting out of line, about the system losing its ability to keep you under control. Yeah. Who wants to be controlled? Religious types, not me. Which is why I had to go through that phase too, that whole religious phase, and realize it's bullshit. Okay, something I have not, I don't think, adequately talked about on here. So I talked about my friend Nate from undergrad, and I think I mentioned that he committed suicide. And honestly, okay, so the day that the breakup was finalized, that one with the guy that I thought I was going to marry, when that breakup was all said and done, one of the first things I found out that day was that Nathan had committed suicide. And obviously it bothered me for, the fact that this was one of my friends, right? So obviously that's an upsetting point in and of itself. But what bothered me more was the fact that Nate and I met freshman year through marching band at Ball State. And then we ended up finding out we were both psych majors, and we had a class together. So, we were sitting together in class, and it was a lecture hall, and every now and then he talked a lot about his partner. And then one day he brings this guy in, big dude, come to sit through class with us, and loved both of those guys, right? The snag was I was spent so much time in my head trying to make sense of what these church groups were literally like beating me over the head with, how all this stuff is wrong and all that. And it's like, that was one of the coolest dudes that I knew at that point in time. And I wish I would have been less in my head about trying to make it make sense, that I would have more fully embraced the friendship side of things. Because, when we had conversations, I would literally say, it's like, I just don't understand. It's like, I feel like I completely understand the point that it is not a choice, right? I get that completely. But it didn't make sense for me why the religious aspect of it, was like, this is the worst thing in the world and you're going to hell and all this bullshit. It's like, I was so in my head trying to fit what religion was telling me I had to fit, but then knowing that this particular thing did not line up, and even before that, like I had my cousin who was, I think he was born when I was 15. We knew that when that kid was less than a year old that he was going to be the one in the family that was gay. It's like, how do you know that about somebody if it's supposedly just a choice? That never set right with me then. But the thing with Nathan was, I got stuck in my head trying to make sense of these things rather than just accepting that religion is bullshit, as I will fully accept that now. And I feel like I may not have made his life more difficult on that end, but I wasn't as good of a friend to him as I could have been either. And that's what bothers me, because I liked that dude. He was a really genuinely nice guy. Honestly, more authentic than most of the, people that I was associating with, because like the whole church thing. And I feel like, who's to say that even just being more or less in my head about this whole thing and why the church kept, trying to beat this idea into my head that it's just so wrong. And yeah. So that just makes me feel sad, honestly. And then it's like, that dude was a good dude. And how much have I gotten fucked over by church types? Because that's pretty standard, actually. And God. Okay, so the wedding that never should have happened, that did happen because, it specifically had to happen because the universe was using that to show me, how people get into those situations and feel like they can't get out of them, right? So in order to understand it, you got to go through it. And I realized that like all the ways that my family taught me that I was unlovable along the way, is exactly how you end up in those kind of situations. And what the hell is happening with that here? Yeah. So, there was the guy that I thought I was going to marry. And, before that. Okay, so before him, I talked about the asshole that made me hate guys for most of my senior year at Ball State. And how he had the friend who started harassing me, and he was the first one that made some comment about some rapey. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember it was something rapey. And it was one of those things that kind of gets embedded in the layers of, your psyche, and I blocked him and thought that was the end of it. But then when I started navigating this whole healing thing, and it came up the other day, it made me realize that it was still in there. And, the only reason something like that gets to get in there and stay in there is because somebody said it. And while I didn't believe it to be true by any means, it still got embedded in the fact that somebody had said it, right? So, hi. I love you so much. So then when I end up in a situation later where my ex eventually comes around to saying things like he should have raped me when he had the chance, it's like, it's just this other thing that's been embedded in like the deepest layers that I didn't want to confront and navigate through, waiting for an opportunity to come out. So then when my ex started saying those things, it's like, I knew very much that it pissed me off completely. And that, I was appalled that I was with somebody that would eventually say that, right? But then too, going back to that point of I thought I needed somebody outside of me to save me and to fix me and to tell me if something was a bad decision or not. It's like, rather than just listening to my own gut that was saying, that voice that was yelling at me as I went down the aisle of, don't do this. You don't even like him, let alone love him. Why are you doing this? And that goes back to like all these stupid, fucked up belief systems and, seeing it play out in the family level, and then it just gets embedded in your shadow and all the things you think are wrong with you until one day it starts playing out. And then it's like, because we haven't confronted it elsewhere, now we have no choice but to confront it as it comes out. And, my brother talked about in his like group therapy stuff that he was doing there for a while, that the therapist was talking about how it's basically like taking a beach ball and trying to hold it under the water, and it's fighting to come back up and to be resolved essentially. And until you choose to face it and let it out from under the water and be resolved, then it's going to keep fighting you, and it's going to keep being something that you have to go through and deal with in various ways. It's going to play out in other ways, right? Yeah. I feel like this has been a very incoherent video, especially with this chaotic creature in the back seat. Hey. And I feel like part of that was I did it to myself when I decided to name him Taz. Because now he's got a name to live up to. Oops. Maybe I'll think twice on that in the future. I don't recycle my animal names if I can avoid it, so there won't be another Tazzy. This is the Tazzy. So what you see is what you get. But yeah, that whole Tasmanian devil bit. Yeah. Anyway, there's a bunch of that I will probably talk about again, and hopefully more coherent. Like that too is part of this whole vlog process. Is like things I've been thinking about that come up, but then I have to think about them differently. And like the deal with the girl at the Army Navy game that was like, oh, do you like women? And it's like, she just caught me so off guard that honestly, like my immediate reaction was, there is one person that I am looking for at this point in time, and I know he's out there, and I know it's a guy, but it's not because, it's literally that whole, I've always carried a part of him with me, so I've always kind of known what I've been looking for. I just allowed everything else to talk me out of it when I shouldn't have. And if I would have embraced it instead of talking myself out of it, then I wouldn't have had most of the bullshit connections that I have had, and that's difficult life lessons as well as difficult people, which, like I said, I know that everything that I have been through and learned through is for a purpose, and my ears once needs to pop. Everything I've been through, I know, is for a purpose. And I think it's just a matter of, because the stuff that you deal with and you face within yourself, that's the stuff that makes you invincible to others, right? So like if you know everything there is to know about yourself and who you are and who you refuse to be in the world, then that bothers a lot of people, because they're not brave enough to do that, for one thing. They bought into all the bullshit that, makes it okay to abuse people because you don't know what's in their pants, or, it's whatever. It's like, yeah. But yeah, if you know, okay, in order to know what love is, I've had to have it demonstrated all the things it's not, right? So in all the ways it has been demonstrated throughout my life that people do this or that under the guise of thinking that they love somebody, or because I'm your mom, I love you. like, I have to love you. It's like, no, you're incapable of love. The fact that you're using this over my head shows that you don't actually love me, because you wouldn't be able to hold that over my head if you did. And the whole bit of, you have to know everything it's not before you can know everything it is, and then make space for people to be assholes in that space, but having boundaries to not allow them to affect you, because you know who you are and you know that you are exactly who you're meant to be, in spite of whatever their intended insults may be. I really have no idea how coherent any of this is today. But that too, I feel like it's relevant to talk about, like, my brain injury on here, and, all the ways I've felt stupid growing up, and had that, even now, having my father try to find the things to make me feel stupid, when I say, hey, the car's not working right, or it won't start right. Did you hold the brake down on an automatic car that doesn't have a push button? I don't think that's been a thing I've had to do in the past. Pretty confident. But yeah, like, he just allows the assumption of, this is how we do things now, so therefore everything else is just deleted. It's like, okay, well, except for the fact that this is still a 2008, so yeah. It's still not going to start the same way the 2017s did. Yeah. I'll have to watch this and see how much of it's coherent. I'll still post it. I don't figure it's a problem to have. It goes to that point of, we're not here to be perfect. We're here to try to do something worthwhile with what we can and with who we are and the skills that we have. But that's not through being perfect. Because if we were perfect, what would we need anybody else for? If we were capable of doing all the things on our own, why would we need other people? And it misses the point. The point is, all things are part of the divine whole, and to make it okay to bully any of them is the problem. But then that's been allowed to happen for so long because we've gone so long without anybody saying, hey, this is a problem, this is why it's a problem, and starting to push back against it, which I think is exactly kind of the dynamic we're in now. Is we came to learn why people weren't pushing back and say, hey, this is fucking stupid. It's not going to be allowed to continue, because as soon as we start actively standing against it, then it won't be able to continue, because the bad behaviors, when you call attention to them and why they're a problem, and the fact that they do hurt a lot of people, I feel like that is the pushback that will make change happen. So yeah, I'll have to see what of this is coherent and what of this I can fix tomorrow or tweak tomorrow or whatever. Maybe tweak this. Oh yeah, now he's being good. Go figure. Anyway, back to go deal with the little puppy again, and shake their little world back into chaos. She heard that and she's like, home? Cool. As always, I appreciate you. Until the next time. See ya.